Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are tuning into this. Y'all know I'm a big one on making sure we get in our movement, so I figured what a great way to get in some steps this morning and come on and connect with you. Whew, that light is bright. It's hot out, and so it's easy for our mind to offer that we cannot possibly get more movement in. So I want to encourage you. There's lots of ways. If you're not going to get outside, maybe you pace around your house. Maybe you get a walking pad. Maybe you go to the mall. Maybe you get on the treadmill. Not my favorite. And connect with why. What's the value? You know what I mean? If we take the summers off, especially my Floridian friends, from moving our body, it doesn't feel good. There's a will. There's a way. So the other day I posted a video about how shifting my identity to a non-drinker has been a big piece in my sober journey and not drinking alcohol for the past 4.5 years. And the more I thought about that, it's such an inconclusive video. While I do work with my clients on supporting themselves with how they see themselves, that's important, right? The beliefs we have about ourselves, the things we say about ourselves, what we believe to be true, has a huge effect on how we show up in our life, how we feel. For example, if I was believing that I'm lazy, if I was believing that I couldn't do it, if I was believing that I was unhealthy, then there's going to be certain actions that are going to show up in my life. It's going to show up in how I treat myself. It's going to show up in how I take care of my body, how I engage with circumstances, how I engage with obstacles. So I've worked really hard to see myself, generally speaking. Of course, there's times where I don't feel this way, but see myself as somebody who is fit, who's active, who's healthy. And sometimes I'm presented with situations where that doesn't feel true. So I really leverage my identity and connect with who I want to be, how I want to show up. And that's been a huge part in supporting me in not drinking alcohol for 4.5 years. And there's a lot more to it than that, which I wanted to get into today. And you might not care to cut out alcohol, or maybe you already don't drink, or it's not a thing for you, but perhaps you like your sweets, or maybe you want to quit smoking. Perhaps you want to start exercising more. Maybe you want to stop worrying about what other people think of you. So this is going to be supportive if you listen to it through that lens. If you listen to it through, what can I extract from this that's going to help me on my journey? And so there were some things that have really stood out in being sober from alcohol for 4.5 years. One of those things were not to give up. And before I totally quit, there were many times where I would cut back. I'd have times of initially a few months, then it would be 4 months, then it might just be a month. And I go to say this because I think that a lot of times when we set out to get in the best shape of our life, or maybe you're dealing with some kind of, hey Tasha, maybe you're dealing with some kind of medical condition right now. And our mind wants to offer us that we should just have the solution, that we should just be there, right? And it doesn't typically. Sometimes it does, right? Sometimes we have these huge spiritual awakenings or radical remissions. That is possible as well. And a lot of times it takes time, and it takes falling down, and it takes getting back up. And just know that every time you move in the direction of health, every time you move in the direction of alignment, it matters. Even if you go back to some old habits that are not supportive, you are making a difference. And I want you to just keep going towards what it is that your heart desires. And each time, see what you can learn from it. Because I can tell you, when I took 4 months off from drinking, when I came back to drink again, my relationship with alcohol was different. I wasn't as attached to it. I could take it or leave it. Whereas when I first went 4 months without drinking, it was really freaking hard. I didn't know if I could do it. So every time you show up, I want you to focus on building that belief in yourself that yes, you can do this thing, whatever it is, and connect the dots there that like, yes, I can make this happen. Another thing that was really supportive is working on my trauma, y'all. I thought I had worked on it all. No, I didn't think I had worked on it all, but I worked on it a lot. Starting probably 13 years ago is when I really started this journey of deep healing, my body, my mind, my spirit, all those things. And there's always layers. There's still layers. Now I know this is ongoing, right? It's never done. As long as we're alive, there's like another layer of expansion, another layer of elevating our mind, another layer of tapping into love and that higher vibration. And so for me, taking care of my wounds, taking care of my inner child, addressing the things that were leading to drinking have been so important. So again, that's why I'm like, I gotta talk more about this, because yes, the identity shift was instrumental, but it wouldn't have been possible without going there and addressing past traumas. And I hear this sometimes from people, I don't have any trauma. You're human, you're in this world. We all have some forms of trauma, and it can affect us. So if you feel like you have a frequent pattern that shows up, a lot of times we find this in relationships. Certain things really push our buttons, or maybe we find ourselves surrounded by similar people and we're like, why does this keep happening to me? That's an opportunity for deeper healing. Or maybe you are doing something that doesn't feel good, right? Whether it's a bad habit or you're not really honoring yourself in your actions and taking care of yourself the way that you want to. A lot of times it's old patterns that we learned. We have some beliefs in there that are not supportive, that are ready for an upgrade. That's how I look at it, right? They're ready for an upgrade. So instead of asking like, why the addiction, or why do I choose this unhealthy coping mechanism, or why do I self-sabotage? And I don't even really look at it as self-sabotage. I think it's a very young part of us trying to protect us. And I could get more into that in another video. But it is important to ask, why the pain? Why is this what I'm trying to soothe, right? Because when we are doing things that aren't in alignment, there's usually an underlying root pain that's there, that is calling our attention, that doesn't want to be felt, that doesn't want to go there. And so looking at it through that lens of self-compassion is so huge, super huge. Another thing that's super important on this journey is to surround yourself with people and the environment that you are moving towards. Now I can tell you, if I would have kept hanging out with the people I was hanging out with 13 years ago, we all outgrew it pretty much. I see everybody now, they got family, they got multiple kids, husbands, all the things. But if we would have kept going out to the club 4 nights a week, or however often we were going and having our drunken mimosa brunches, it would have been really hard for me to quit drinking if I would have kept in that environment and never gave myself a break from it. So the people that we surround ourselves with are a huge part of our health journey. That's why I always have a coach, because even though I've been in this coaching space, this personal development space, I want somebody to support me in connecting to a bigger picture. I want somebody who's further along on the journey to guide me, to say, hey, I can totally see why you're stuck here. Let me help you. So surrounding ourselves, getting mentorship, the people, our relationships, sometimes that requires shifting the dynamic or even letting people go if they're not supportive. I would say leave the love, right? Leave the love, but we can like cut those cords if it's just not the healthiest thing. And it doesn't always mean we fully let go of the relationship. No, especially like with family, right? But we might begin to shift how we engage with them, what we expect out of the dynamic. We might adapt to how we spend time with them, right? We've had some of these people in our life for a really, really long time. And when we start to create new patterns, it is going to require an interruption. It's going to require an interruption, but and a rupture sometimes. But on the other side of that can be deeper healing, can be greater health. Also, environment. right? So I didn't keep booze in the house anymore when I stopped drinking. So if you're breaking your sugar habit, don't keep that dang sugar in your house, right? Maybe at some point you can have it in the house. Like now I can have sugar in the house and not go freaking nuts and eat it all in one night, but that used to not be the case. And so you want to set yourself up for success. And so ask yourself, what am I working towards right now? What habit am I creating? Whether it's a mindset habit, whether it's an actual physical healthy habit, or maybe there's a habit that you're like, I got to let this one go. Whether it's worrying all the time, whether it's partying too much, whether it's not exercising, right? Slothness. And then how do you set your environment up to work for you? Because that is really important. Our environment definitely influences us. The people, the way it's set up, like such a big piece of it. So for me, when I stopped drinking, it was, all right, I got to find new things to do. So now I get up earlier and I go to bed earlier and I have more different. I have different things that I do with my time and my energy. And now it's just natural. But in the beginning, you really want to just make your environment work for you and know why you're doing what you're doing. I think that sometimes we underestimate how long it takes to create new pathways, how long it takes to really make things stick. And that failure or falling down, whatever we want to call it, not getting it right, not showing up the way that we thought we were going to show up, facing challenges, facing obstacles, feeling like crap sometimes is all part of it. So we just want to be realistic that it's going to be hard sometimes. We're not always going to feel like it. We're not going to feel motivated. There might be cravings. There might be like times we want to shut down, and just to navigate and hold space for ourselves throughout all that is really important. And to know why we're doing what we're doing. And like, I'm so big, you guys hear me say this all the time, write it down, put it in paper, put it up on your wall where you're going to see it every day, revisit it. Like I revisit what I'm working on nearly every single day, definitely every single week, because what happens is we set off, I'm going to make this a habit, I'm going to break this habit. We freaking forget, right? We got all kinds of other things pulling our attention, helping us survive, keeping us alive, that these like higher level practices of creating healthy habits and breaking unhealthy habits, they don't really hold as much weight on the survival scale, and we are wired for survival. So we have to work with that to make these new habits, to make these new alignments in our life. It takes a lot of continued effort, and we need things that are going to help us stay on track, whether that's alarms on your phone, whether that's meeting with your therapist, your coach, whether it's meeting up with your friends and having those get-togethers where you all talk about it, you all see what's working, you keep yourself in that momentum. Very, very important. And I talked about this when I talked about trauma and healing trauma. Another thing that has been instrumental is nervous system regulation. I didn't even know when I ended up in burnout that I was burned out. I didn't know that the morning anxiety and dread, that the constant churning it out nonstop and then crashing or then soothing or checking out with alcohol was burnout. I didn't really know that I was, what do they call it? Had rushing woman syndrome, which, you know, I still deal with that, but the layers, right? And I could see the growth. I could see the healing. I didn't even know. I didn't know. I was like in sympathetic dominance. I was in survival mode, but my body was giving me symptoms. That was one thing. So was my emotional state and my mental state. And so nervous system regulation, making sure that I have those practices that help me process what's going on. I call it like a self-cleaning oven. So when something doesn't sit right with me in conversation, or I'm really worried about something, or I'm feeling stuck, I'm feeling sad, I take care of my emotional and mental self. And I also incorporate practices such as deep breathing, breath work, EFT, working with my coach, the parts work, inner child work. All of that piece really helps keep me in a way where I don't feel like everything is freaking urgent and I'm just spinning my wheels and constantly worried, right? I'm still human. I still have things I worry about and all that stuff. But nervous system regulation has been a huge thing because it helps me take care of my inner skate and my outer self, right? So that I don't need to turn to alcohol. And then here's the thing, once whatever the habit is that you're working on, once you've done it for a while, it becomes second nature. The more you tap into, this is just who I am. I'm the kind of person that works out 5 days a week. I'm the kind of person that prioritizes her sleep, but if it's something really important, I can go without some sleep. It's not gonna kill me. I'm the kind of person that eats healthy. I'm the kind of person that tries my best to live in integrity, that tries to be honest. And none of this is about perfection, y'all, because, you know, we're human. And I think when we're trying to get too doing it right or too much imperfection, that throws us off too. And it's so important to come back to self-compassion. So thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's talk, go ahead, give me some hearts, maybe share the video, give me some love. And I'd love to hear from you. What are you working on? What is important to you right now? What are you focusing your precious energy, your precious time on co-creating? All right, have a great weekend.